For years, the boys has drilled one idea into us. Supes are nearly untouchable. They're gods in capes, soldiers of Vough's empire, marketed as saviors but feared as monsters. From Homelander's chilling stares to Soldier Boy's brutal rampages, the world of the boys has been defined by the imbalance of power. Supes at the top, humans crushed beneath. But then came Gen V. And while the spin-off gave us new faces, twisted experiments, and a fresh campus full of power-hungry kids, Season 2 has quietly begun unraveling one of the biggest myths in this entire universe. The idea that Supes are unstoppable. Because behind the blood, the chaos, and the showboating, Gen V is peeling back the curtain and showing us just how fragile they really are. The vulnerability of Supes isn't always physical, though we've seen hints of that too. It's systemic, it's psychological, and it's woven into the very DNA of who they are. Think about it. For so long, the image of a super was indestructible. Sure, there were weapons here and there, and the odd dose of Compound V to level the playing field, but the baseline assumption was clear. If a Supe wants you dead, you're dead. If Homelander wants to take over the world, who's going to stop him? That fear has been the heartbeat of the boys since episode 1. Yet Gen V Season 2 is taking that fear and slowly twisting it, suggesting that maybe these so-called gods aren't gods at all. Maybe they're fragile in ways we never imagined. It starts with the science. Godolphin University isn't just a school, it's a lab. Everything we've learned about the institution screams one truth. Supes are products, not miracles. They're designed, tweaked, experimented on, and in many cases broken long before they're unleashed on the world. The revelations about the woods, the horrifying facility under the campus, confirmed what the boys hinted at for years, that Vough's golden children are test subjects first, superheroes second, and Season 2 doubles down on that, exposing not just the existence of these labs, but the purpose behind them. Supes aren't bred for perfection, they're bred for control, and that need for control exposes their weakness. If Vought can engineer them, it can also break them. Then there's the psychological fragility. Supes are raised in bubbles of fame and exploitation. They're told they're special, worshipped as children, and monetized before they're even old enough to understand what's happening. Season 2 of Gen V is relentless in showing how this conditioning leaves cracks in every single Supe we meet. Marie, Andre, Kate, and Jordan, they all struggle with identity, trust, and self-worth. They're powerful, yes, but they're also insecure, desperate, and traumatized. And that's the second layer of vulnerability that Gen V Season 2 is driving home. Supes might have powers, but humans who understand their psychology have just as much control over them as any weapon. They can be manipulated, broken, and turned against each other. But the most shocking revelations of Season 2 come in the form of biological weakness. Compound V, the drug that creates them, isn't stable. That's been hinted at in the boys, but Gen V shines a spotlight on it. We see evidence that powers can malfunction, that they can be tampered with, and that they can even be shut down entirely with the right science. The idea of virus-based suppression, whispered in labs and hinted at in hushed conversations, is perhaps the most dangerous concept the show has ever introduced. Because if you can switch off a Supe, even for a moment, you strip away everything that makes them terrifying. You turn Homelander from a god into just another man. And in the world of the boys, that idea changes everything. And let's not forget the Supe-on-Supe violence, which Gen V highlights brilliantly. Supes are vulnerable to each other in ways humans can't match. We've seen this before with Soldier Boy, with Black Noir, and with Kimiko. But Season 2 of Gen V brings it into sharper focus. Rivalries, betrayals, powers clashing against powers. These aren't invincible gods. They're a fragile ecosystem, constantly on the verge of implosion. The very thing that makes them strong also makes them weak, because the only ones who can truly hurt them are each other. And when you put a campus full of unstable Supes in one place, you realize just how quickly the system can collapse from the inside out. This all feeds into a larger theme, that the power of Supes has always been an illusion. Vought sells them as flawless. Society fears them as unstoppable. But Gen V Season 2 is peeling that illusion away. Layer by layer. When you strip away the marketing, the celebrity, and the Compound V enhancements, what's left isn't a god. It's a scared, manipulated, unstable human being with a dangerous gift. And that is the ultimate vulnerability. Because human beings break, human beings doubt, human beings fail. The brilliance of Gen V is that it doesn't scream this revelation at us. It whispers it. It tucks it into quiet moments, into subtle reveals, into background details. A malfunctioning power here, a secret medical file there, a breakdown behind closed doors. And when When you put all those pieces together, you realize that the world of the boys is shifting. For the first time, there's a roadmap to fighting back. For the first time, it feels like Homelander and his kind aren't as invincible as they want us to believe. And that changes everything, because the entire tension of the boys has always been built on fear. Fear that no matter what Butcher, Huey, Starlight, or anyone else does, Homelander will always win. Fear that you can't fight gods. But Gen V Season 2 is telling us that fear is misplaced. The gods bleed, the gods doubt, the gods can fall. And when the world realizes that, when the public sees behind the curtain, when Vought loses control of the illusion, the entire balance of power shifts. So what does this mean for the larger universe? It means war is inevitable. It means that the battle lines are no longer drawn between humans and Supes, but between those who know the truth and those who still cling to the lie. It means that Butcher and his crew may finally have the tools they need to challenge Homelander on equal footing. And it means that Supes themselves will be forced to reckon with the reality that they're not untouchable. They're pawns in a game they don't even fully understand. That's the genius of what Gen V is doing in its second season. It's not just expanding the universe, it's reframing it. It's showing us that the story of the boys was never about invincible gods ruling over helpless humans. It was always about fragile humans pretending to be gods, desperate to hold on to power they barely understand, terrified of being exposed. And now, that exposure is here. By the time Season 2 is over, I think we'll look back at these subtle reveals as the moment the tide began to turn. The moment when the myth of Superman's invincibility started to crumble. The moment when we realized that the greatest weapon against Homelander isn't another Supe, isn't another miracle drug, isn't another desperate plan. It's the truth. The truth is that behind the glowing eyes and the unstoppable strength, he's just as vulnerable as anyone else.